Hi guys, so before we get into it, a couple of quick disclaimers. Firstly, you'll find all my other reviews of Stephen King adaptations in my Stephen King playlist, and there will be spoilers today. I mean, it's Carrie. One thing that there won't be is me giving you the plot. I normally do that at the start of a review, but when it comes to Carrie, do I really need to waste the seconds? If you're that one in a million person who doesn't know what this is about, I would suggest don't watch this movie. Watch the 1976 Brian De Palma original, or read the novel by Stephen King from 1974. It's about a girl with telekinetic powers, and it's brilliant. Trust me. I've had a bit of a roundabout route getting to this 2002 one. For many years, I'd only seen the 70s one. And then about a year ago, I watched and reviewed the 2013 one. The reason why I skipped over 2002 at the time is simply because the 2013 one was available on Prime and this one wasn't. But even if both films had been available on there, I don't think I would have done those reviews back to back at the time. There is such a thing as too much Carrie. But a few days ago, I noticed that Prime finally had the 2002 one, and enough time had passed for me since doing the 2013 one for me to feel like, yeah, maybe, okay, it's time for another Carrie review. I also noticed that it was only 12 days until the 2002 one was to be kicked off Prime, so I definitely wanted to get on with it. Although a day or so later, a friend of mine pointed out that you can actually watch this film for free now on YouTube, so it actually doesn't matter whether it's on a streaming platform that you're paying for or not. This was a TV movie back when it came out, so it was intended as a kind of backdoor pilot for a mini-series. This is still the full Carrie experience. It gives you the entire movie as it was in the 1976 version. The difference is that they've just twisted it just slightly at the end so that potentially they could have done a few episodes of new Carrie stories, which certainly Stephen King did not write about, but obviously this didn't make the intended impact that maybe the producers were hoping for, and so they just left it at this. They did this movie and they didn't make anything else. This one was directed by David Carson. I don't recognise most of his other movies, apart from Star Trek Generations, which for my money is the absolute worst of those. I'm not a Trekkie by any stretch of the imagination, but Generations was just the pits. One thing that did catch my eye about 2002 Carrie is the runtime. It's 133 minutes. Now, that would place it 35 minutes longer than the 76 one, which was pretty much the perfect adaptation, really. This is the exact same story. So even before watching this film, I was kind of worried as to what the hell they've added on to make this one so much longer. Half of the new material is probably police scenes. So they do this thing in this one where they've got a cop interviewing the Sue Stern character, but after the events of the movie, the following day. And the cop is just wanting to know Sue's whereabouts on the night, what she knew about Carrie and her powers, that kind of stuff. But this is all pointless to me. We don't need interview clips from the following day. Plus, Sue Stern's demeanour in these scenes is weird. She's really relaxed. It's like she's being interviewed about a parking ticket she got a week last Thursday. She doesn't seem very emotional, given that all her classmates have just burned to death. The cop's really putting on a bit of a show. Well, the actor who's playing him, he's really going for it. He's a bit like that cop in The Usual Suspects. He's doing the whole, there's more here than what you're telling me. I'm not buying what you're selling, Sue. You've got to give me more than this. Come on, help me out here. He's doing that whole shtick, but these scenes are just tedious. They're sort of evenly spaced out throughout the movie, and I could have done without them. There is one new scene in this version that has definitely not been in any previous one, and that's when the character of Chris Hargensen, the main female villain, she goes in the principal's office and Carrie just happens to be there, and the two of them have this little conversation that's full of tension because the two hate each other. But this scene brought it home to me that in the original, Chris and Carrie don't ever really speak, not in any proper way. I'd never really considered that before, so to watch this scene was kind of interesting. So this is at least one good new addition. The casting is okay, I suppose. So Carrie is played here by Angela Bettis. I've never previously heard of this actress, although I can see from her wiki that she's never found it difficult to get work, although she's not acted since 2021 for reasons unknown to me. She was 29 at the time that she played Carrie, which is way too old. I'll never understand it, why they insist on casting people who are nowhere near the ages of the characters they're meant to be playing. Now, it's not as if I noticed during the movie that Carrie was being played by a 29-year-old, but with the benefit of hindsight, yeah, I could believe that there was a 29-year-old under there. Just strange to me. There are two other actresses in this film who I did recognise. So, firstly, Emily de Raven, who plays Chris Hargensen. Emily de Raven was in Lost and The Hills Have Eyes remake, a bunch of stuff from the noughties. I've not seen her since that period. And Catherine Isabel plays one of Chris's friends. Now, this is a brilliant actress. I've seen her in stuff from throughout her career. One of those people who just seems to be doing something really cool in every scene that they're in, even if it's like a little wrinkle of the nose. Like there's always acting happening with Catherine Isabel. She's so good. But the cast overall just can't compare to the 1976 cast. That was such lightning in a bottle. Like every single role in the 76 one was filled by the perfect person to play the character as written by Stephen King. And this is why I don't understand why they keep making more and more Carries. It's like you can never repeat that, what you had originally. Very different situation from The Stand. I watched the early 90s version of The Stand quite recently, and even though I really enjoyed it, the casting was kind of dodgy throughout that production, and because of that, I feel like I've got genuine motivation to watch the 2020 version of The Stand next month, as I'm intending to do, to see whether they manage to do any better. But with Carrie, it's like, why would you even bother trying to follow on from that cast of 1976? Which is why I think I'm so cynical whenever I'm talking about new versions of Carrie. I haven't mentioned Miss Desjardins, Carrie's teacher in this story. She gets a brilliant scene. It's just before Carrie and Tommy go on stage to be crowned King and Queen of the Prom. Now, this teacher, she comes and sits next to Carrie while Tommy is off fetching punch, and she gives Carrie this speech about how once you leave your teenage years, it's a whole different world. Nothing that you do at school matters ultimately in terms of how you're going to enjoy your adult life. It's a really poignant speech, brilliantly written, and this is probably the one thing in this film, along with maybe the scene in the principal's office with Chris and Carrie, that I would have liked to have seen in the 76 version. The trouble is, this is just two scenes maybe out of a runtime of 133 minutes. For the most part, this is all cut and paste stuff of material that's already been done before and better. The iconic scene where the blood comes down onto Carrie is absolutely wretched in this version. So we can clearly see that there's one bucket full of blood high up in the rafters waiting to be toppled. But when it finally comes down, there's way more blood than what could possibly have been in that bucket. I'd say there's actually like 10 or 15 bucketfuls of blood that come down onto Carrie. There's tons of the stuff. It's overflowing. And yet we've seen there was just one bucket up there. So what's happening is impossible. Chris Hargensen is not a witch. There's no way she could have made this happen. So it's just badly staged, this whole setup. Also, the music that plays when Carrie starts laying waste to the gymnasium is terrible. It's like it's from a completely different movie. It's just the wrong style of music for the action that's happening in the scene. And this isn't the first time in this movie this has happened. Actually, this entire soundtrack is pretty bad, really, when I think about it. The only time when the music is passable in this movie is when Carrie and Tommy first turn up at the ball at prom, and I guess we get 5 or 10 minutes of what you might call interesting music, but for the rest of this, it's just an awful soundtrack, like really bad, and it doesn't even fit the movie that they were making. When it comes to the ending that they've tweaked to keep Carrie alive for future episodes. I don't have a problem with this in theory. If they want to do something different, fine. It doesn't affect my enjoyment of the original novel or the original movie, but I wish they'd kept it subtle at least, you know. Maybe just have a mid-credit sequence where one of Carrie's eyes opens in the intensive care unit or something like that. But what they actually do here is stretch out the ending so that Sue Stern comes across Carrie and she's still alive, and then she puts her in this locker to keep her safe, and then the following day she drives her to Florida because I don't know, maybe she's worried that the police are going to arrest Carrie. So the plan is that she's going to drop Carrie off in Florida with no money and just assume that Carrie can make a new life for herself where she'll be safe. But this doesn't make much sense to me. Carrie is a very shy girl. She's a young girl, and especially with limited funds. How is she going to survive in Florida? Tell me that. It would have been kinder to just let her take her chances with the police. I mean, what can they prove? That you can't just accuse somebody of killing a bunch of people with your eyes. So this whole ending just doesn't work at all for me. I think they needed to strip it back. If they were going to go with this ending, then just make it more subtle and brief. You know, it's just bad what they do. Bad. Ultimately, I didn't enjoy this movie. I didn't intend to watch it in 3 sittings, but that's what happened. I put it on one night. I could only tolerate about 40 minutes before I got so bored I had to do something else. Then I watched another half an hour on my lunch break when I was working from home. And then I watched the rest of the movie in a third session, either later on that evening or the following day, whatever. It's not the ideal way to watch a horror movie, doing it in 3 different sessions, but I couldn't help myself. I just wasn't having a good time with it. I think the 2013 one is marginally better than this, but that's not saying much. I can't remember much about the 2013 one other than the fact that the main actress was Chloe Grace Moretz. She was all right from memory, but apart from that, I can't remember a thing about the 2013 version. I literally only reviewed it maybe a year ago, maybe 18 months ago. I can't remember. But my mind is just blank on that film, which tells me that it wasn't really that good. Certainly this version isn't that good. We just don't need more Carries. The 76 one is fine. That should have been the full stop right then and there. And the weird thing is they're planning to make another one. So I think next year, 2026, they're either going to release a new Carrie or they're going to start making one. And it's going to be a mini-series next time, which I guess gives them the chance to structure it slightly differently, I suppose. And I've heard that Mike Flanagan is attached to it. He's going to direct. So that gives me a little bit of hope, maybe, that it might be all right. Because as far as I'm concerned, Mike Flanagan is a bit of a modern-day horror genius. But can he do anything with Carrie at this stage of the game? I hope he's at least got the bravery to set it in the 70s again. I think that's definitely needed with this story. Having Carrie set in modern times, just again, it's another thing that means these later versions just don't work for me. But we'll have to see what Flanagan comes up with, won't we? Right. It's time to get to the bag of terror so I can show you what score I'm going to give Carrie 2002. So we've got 1.5 Michael Myers carving knives out of 5. I can't remember what I gave the 2013 version. I imagine it was something similar to this. I've never reviewed the 76 one, but I would almost certainly give that 4.5 or 5. So there we have it. I am done with Carrie once again, at least until that next one comes out. But before I go, a quick reading update. So I've just finished reading Aliens Volume 6. This collects 2 Aliens novels, Cauldron and Steel Egg. I do have a kind of project going on where I'm trying to read all of the Aliens novels. I think there are about 42 in total. They've been going a long time, since way back in the early 90s. And I think I'm almost halfway at this point. I think I've read 19 of 42, so I'm getting there. As for these two, pretty decent, if nothing special. I'd say Cauldron is the best of these two. So we kind of find out what it would be like if aliens got loose on a kind of Noah's Ark type situation where there's like loads of different animals that are actually quite dangerous to the aliens, weirdly enough. Steel Egg, on the other hand, the second novel, a bit more of the usual kind of fare that you get with these books. So we've got aliens and humans who get trapped on like this engineer's ship. I don't think this particular creature is actually an engineer. It's a brand new third party creature, but yeah, that one's all right as well. I think both novels would get a 3 out of 5 for me. Decent, but nothing special ultimately. But I still have motivation to go on and see if I can complete my project. So I'll be reading volume 7 very soon. But in terms of this video, I am now done. Thank you for joining me for my review of Carrie 2002. Please follow me on X if you haven't already. I do regularly post on there about various horror and gaming related stuff. And other than that, I will see you all again next time. Bye-bye.